Have you drawn the European Cup? The European Cup, the European Cup. Have you drawn the European Cup? Well, our friend here, Mr. Colin Abbott, knows, or by a chance encounter, which he seems to stumble upon every time he leaves the house, he bumped in to the designer, I think that's the right word, you'll correct me if I'm wrong, or the family that designed the European Cup, that prestigious pot, the thing with the big ears that we were able to hold aloft in 1982, and that we're trying at the point of at the point of recording, we're top of the group. Now, this will probably come out after the next game, so let's not get carried away, but the Champions League trophy, the European Cup that you see today. Colin, how do you do this? You were away with Villa for the first Champions League game, the young boys game in Switzerland, a month or two ago. I'll let you take up the story of what happened next.
Just walking down a nondescript road in Bern, and I've got my Villa shirt on, and a gentleman stepped out and said, "Are you here for the football?" I said I was. And he said, "The trophy that your team are playing for tonight," he said, "I designed it and drew it." And I'm like, okay. He must have seen the look on my face that I wasn't believing. And he started expanding on it, and he said how he'd drawn it in 1967 because the previous trophy had been handed to Real Madrid. And if you look through the pictures, the trophy that they were given is nothing like the one that we're fighting for now, and lifted in 1982. So he started elaborating on his story, and then he pulled out this business card and he gave it to me, and his name was Jörg Stadelmann. And the more he started talking, I'm thinking, I think this is kosher. He described how to get to his Goldsmith shop. So I went along. It's now run by his daughter. I went in, started babbling as I do. She didn't understand English, or she didn't understand me. And a gentleman behind the counter, he said, "Can I help you?" And I said, "I've just been told the most fantastic story by some elderly gentleman outside." And he says, "Yeah, it's true." And I hadn't even told him what the story was. Anyway, he gestured for these two lads to go out the back of the shop, and they come back, and it was this framed drawing, scale size, and it was the Champions League trophy. And it was like unbelievable. And they brought it over and they put it on the table, and it was signed, it was dated, it was numbered, and it was a scale drawing of the European Cup. And the gentleman behind the counter told me the story. UEFA's headquarters used to be in Bern back in the day. Jörg Stadelmann's father was a very, very renowned goldsmith in the area, and he was in a restaurant one day, and he was approached by the head of UEFA and said, "I want you to design me a trophy." And he said, "I'm too old, but my son Jörg will do it." So Jörg was told to design this trophy. He did one. It incorporated diamonds. They didn't like it. It wasn't big and brash enough. Yeah. He said, "No, start again." He said, "We want it massive. We want great big handles on it, so when you hold it, everyone in the ground can see it." He said, "So this is what the design was." Absolutely unbelievable that would happen. And when I got back, well, before I'd even got back home, I would see pockets of Villa fans walking around in Bern. I'd said, "Here, yeah, you need to go to this shop and ask to see this picture." And I'm just grateful that Mr. Stadelmann approached me. I was able to tell a lot of fans, and a lot of fans got to share that experience. And on the other side, I'd have been gutted if I'd have got home and found that somebody else had been given that privilege.
It would never happen to anybody else, though, Cole, would it? Because you've got that kind of inquisitive... I know it was a chance encounter, but...
Absolutely.
You've got that inquisitive nature where most kind of cynical Villa fans like me would have gone, yeah, whatever, old man, I want to go try and get a pint or something like that. Perhaps I'm painting Villa fans in a bad light through my own eyes there. But I presume that you, being you, were able to share a bit of history and talk to him, educate him about all things Aston Villa as well at the time.
Well, I told him I went in 1982, so I've seen that trophy at first hand, and then I told him the story of how I lifted it when it was still in possession of the Villa, because in 1982, in the spring, that trophy, I think I might have told this story before, the trophy was on display in Darlington with all the other, every football trophy you care to mention, they were on display. And I'd gone in, and they were behind ropes on velvet-covered plinths, and they still had the claret and blue ribbons on with the Villa being holders. And I leant across, and I got hold of this trophy, and I lifted it, and I sort of went, yeah. Within a second, I had a gorilla on each arm, frog marching me out the fire exit for having dared pick the trophy up. And I told this Mr. Stadelman the story, and he found it quite amusing. I do now. It wasn't at the time, because I did 4 somersaults as I was kicked out that fire door.
Was it quite a simple kind of basic design, the images that they showed you then?
It was just
like a pencil drawing?
It was a pencil drawing, scale size, and it was just beautiful. It was just absolutely beautiful, because it's the European Cup Champions League trophy, as we know. That was lifted by Dennis. And when I came home, I sent pictures of me meeting Jörg Stadelman and holding that frame of the trophy. I sent it to all the 82 lads, and they all loved it. It was just bizarre, honestly.
It's mad, isn't it? Because you're the master of kind of uncovering and telling untold stories. But until you shared that story with me, I'm not sure I'd have ever given any thought to a trophy designer's work. You just assume that they just arrive on the scene, don't you? You don't see that side of the process.
You don't. And like I say, when he started telling me it was such a fascinating, out of this world story. You desperately wanted to believe it, but you're thinking it's just too fantastical to believe. But it was correct. And when I was shown that frame and that picture inside, it was like, wow, I would love to have a copy of this on my wall. It was just the most beautiful thing I've ever seen.
I love moments like that, though. I love those kind of those convenient coincidences, really, because it was our first game back in the top table of European football.
It was
for 4 decades.
That's right,
or more. You know, if you'd have been passing another half an hour later or 5 minutes later, you may not have encountered him, had you?
I said to Nathan, the lad that was with me, I said, everything that we've done this morning has led to this. If we'd have stayed 10 minutes longer in one shop, or 2 minutes longer here, or we hadn't turned left and we'd turned right instead, everything just seems, where I'm concerned, the stars are aligned, and it just sort of falls into my lap.
We're about to wrap up, but before we go, I can't go without asking you about your today's club. You've always got a nice bit of a claret blue look about you, but you're walking, talking history today, aren't you? Tell us a little bit about the top and the jacket.
Yeah, this is very, very special. I was lucky enough to be good friends with Andy Lochhead, the Villa legend. I wrote a book on the Villa's 3rd Division exploits. Andy and his lovely wife Carol were good enough to come down to that book launch in 2014. I kept in touch with them regularly by phone call. I would go up to Burnley, and I would always make a point of going and seeing them. I wrote a piece on Andy in the Villa programme, the Villain on the Spot piece I did. At the book launch that he come down to in 2014, we were sat in the lounge, and then Grant Adams and a few more lads come and grabbed Andy, and they almost carried him down the bottom of the lounge, and all you could hear was a rendition of Andy Lochhead in the air, just emanating around the lounge. It was beautiful. And Andy Lochhead, he was, like I say, he was a warrior, and he come back and he had tears in his eyes. He didn't realise how much he was loved. When he passed away, I was absolutely shocked. The day he died, I got in touch with Aston Villa and said, Andy Lochhead's passed away. I'm going to stand up on 9 minutes and I'm going to applaud for all I'm worth. The response I got was, well, you won't be alone. I wanted Aston Villa to do something, but it looked like I was on my own. So I went up to the ground early, and I badgered absolutely everybody that I could see, even the Arsenal fans. And I would say, an Aston Villa legend passed away last night. Please stand on 9 minutes and just give it your best, lads. And on 9 minutes against Arsenal that day, they did. Every man in that ground. And Carol Lochhead phoned me. She'd seen Match of the Day, and she thanked me for doing it. And then a few months later, she phoned up and said, I've been going through some drawers and I found Andy's League Cup final shirt from Wembley, 71, and his tracksuit top. It's still got the stains on. And she said, do you know anyone that might want to buy it? And I said, I would love it. I would absolutely love to buy it. And I told her what I could afford. And I did say to her, I was up front and I said, there's going to be collectors out there that can pay a damn sight more than I can. And she said, what you're offering, she says, that's an awful lot of money. And I said, believe me, it's not on the strength of things, Carol. And she said, I want you to have it. She said, Andy would want you to have it. So I was in the car the next morning. I was up there before she'd even got out of bed, bless her. I'm outside on the phone and saying, I'm outside, Carl. She said, well, give us 10 minutes to get sorted.
No, it's brilliant. You wear it well as well, Colin. You wear it with a swagger.
I love it. I love Andy Lochhead, and I found it's just the sentiment behind this. You can't. I can't tell you what it means to own. It's special beyond words.
No, it's brilliant. That's a lovely note to end it on. Random bits of history, but this is what you get when you invite Colin Abbott in, and it's always a pleasure. So, till next time, you've been watching Claret Blue with me, Matt Kendrick, and our big friend Colin Abbott up the Villa.